Hi, Cutie Pies. I'm Lanikia, and you are watching A Million Little Things review and recap. This episode tonight is season 4, episode 15, Fingers Crossed. Okay, so remember last week we found out that Gary had a lump in his chest. So this week the gang is all together and they are waiting for Gary to have it removed. So they're just trying to comfort Maggie and everything, and so that she can feel better about, so she wouldn't be worried while she waits on Gary to have his lump removed and everything. And so they say, man, we've all been in the hospital recently. Like, we stay in the hospital. And so they went to name it off and they were like, man, we need to get a doctor to come to game night because they're going to have one of their traditional game nights. And so the doctor comes out and she says that Gary's doing well. They removed everything. And in a few moments, they can go back and see him. And so Roman's like, hey, you want to come to a game night? What are you doing tonight? And she was like, I'm being paged. So she was like, no, I'm cool. I'm cool. So we see that Maggie goes back and she goes and visits Gary in the back, and he's with someone named Harrison that Gary being Gary, he's made a friend. And so he thinks Gary is Maggie's ex because he said, oh my gosh, Dr. Bloom, I can't believe I'm actually in the room with you. And if that's the case, then you play for the Bruins. And he was like, yeah. Gary just went along with it or whatever, and then he leaves. So we see Eddie getting his chip. He's been sober for 1 year, so good job, Eddie, on that. He's getting his 1 year anniversary chip, and he tells them about his Anna, and they say, now Eddie, remember that when you are in the program, when you're working the steps, one of the things is not to date anyone for the first year. And he says, I know, but it's different, and they're taking it super slow with everything. And they were like, okay. And so, that was that. They had a cute little joke where the woman was citing, was like, well, I guess I'll stop trying to fix you up with my niece or whatever. And she had the giggles. It was real cute. Okay, so then we go to Regina and Rome, and this was the old Rome. This is the Rome that I love as a character, because it was myself and a young lady in the comments, and she was like, man, he's really mean to her. I know he's depressed, but like, he's really mean to her. And I agree. It almost got to the point where it was uncomfortable to watch he and Regina have scenes together because he was so mean to her. But this is the Rome and Regina that we love. Okay, so they're getting everything ready because they're gonna have game night at their house, because they can't have it at I don't even remember that woman's name anymore. It's been so long. John's house. They can't have it there anymore because she's gone, and they put the house up for sale. So now they're gonna start having them at, I guess, Regina and Rome's. So Regina's getting all the food together. And she's like, oh my gosh, my parents are being so juvenile. She said, my dad blames my mom. My mom is just so upset and wanting to know, why is he blaming me? And is it my fault? And she's trying to reassure her mom that it's not her fault. And Rome says, I'm not going to lie. When I first heard about it, I was upset. And so then her mom calls and she was like, oh my gosh. And her mom says, have you talked to your dad? What are you doing? And she was like, we're getting prepared for game night. And her mom was like, game night? And she was like, Mama, no, it's not like that. You're not invited to this. She said, but we're getting prepared for, no, I haven't talked to Dad. And she said, but I talked to Roman. He said he had a hard time dealing with it because her mom was like, your dad blames me. And she said he had a hard time dealing with it too. And she was like, he was mad at me. And she was like, no, Mama, he wasn't mad at you or anything. And so then she's like, oh, I want to call your dad, but I don't want to. She doesn't want to intrude or anything and overstep. And he was like, and Mom was like, when does that ever stop? She said, what did he say? He said, go ahead and call him. And so she convinces her mom to go ahead and call her dad. So then we see Anna is getting ready and she's really putting a lot of pressure on herself. So she's telling Eddie, this has to be perfect. What do you want? What should I wear? And he was like, just wear this one. She was like, it's going to take much longer if you don't just tell me. So he just told her, everybody's looking forward to meeting her and it's not that big of a deal. And he did let Catherine know that he was bringing someone, and Catherine let him know that she was bringing Greta, and everything was all to the good. But Anna, you could just tell getting ready, she's super nervous. So then we see Catherine and Greta. Now she does call Eddie, so they're calling each other, and Eddie and Greta are still going on with this brother and sister thing, and they got a cute little relationship where they're finishing it, they're thinking alike and everything. So it's really cool. They're cool with each other, and so Catherine's like, she's just gonna bring Greta over. She's not gonna tell the group or anything. She's just gonna bring her. And it was like, okay, well, I'm gonna get there early because I don't want to miss it. Okay, so then we go to Danny. So Gary gets home from being at his surgery, and Danny has completely cleaned up. And Gary said, "Wait a minute, what's that smell? Is it clean?" And so Danny is acting like just mothering him and everything. And he was like, I don't need to be mothered by you. And but you go ahead and take out that trash. But he just lets him know that everything's I'm gonna be fine and everything. And he asked him, do you want to come to game night? And Danny was like, no thanks for that half invite to game night. Since you and Eddie gonna be gone, I'm gonna bringing hi mama, I'm gonna be bringing Milo over. And he was like, yeah, keep it PG-13 because I know what that means, but keep it PG-13 or whatever. And so no, don't pull that. So he taught when Danny leaves to take the trash out, Gary talks to Maggie, and he lets his guard down a little bit, and he says, I'm looking forward to game night because I just want it to be cancer free, no talk about cancer, just have fun, because tomorrow I could get bad results because they didn't have Gary's results ready. He had to come back tomorrow morning. He has to go back to the next morning to get them. And so he's like, I just wanted this to be a great game night because Maggie was concerned and she thought about canceling. He said, no, I need this. So then Regina and Rome are talking, and he puts her phone on do not disturb so her mother can stop blowing her up. He puts her phone on do not disturb, and Greta and Catherine come, and they're like, okay. So Regina, of course, she handled it way better than Rome did, because when he saw her, he was like, I thought you had a date, and Regina was like, that is a date. And so he was just like, okay. And y'all know Rome can't. He has no poker face. So he made it awkward, but then Greta is real cool, so she made it good for him. I'm sorry, can you so then everyone starts arriving for game night. And Eddie and Anna come, and Gary and Maggie come, and Gary's like, what, Catherine? Everybody's shocked, but they're like, okay. And he was like, Eddie, don't have sex with Greta. And they were like, oh my gosh, okay, Gary. So game night is going, and they're trying to play charades, and Anna is horrible. Anna is horrible at charades, and she's nervous. But Catherine and Eddie are like this. They are just together. And before that, also, they were talking about drinks and everything because Greta had bought, wine, and Catherine bought a non-alcoholic beverage soda for Eddie, and she was like, "What flavor?" It's a different flavor every day, but what flavor? And they were like, What's going on?" And they were like, "It's a joke." When we went to this place when she was pregnant, the way they had a different flavor every day, and so they kept asking the relationships, yeah, but what's today's flavor? And they were like, and Catherine and both Greta and both Anna were like, okay, because it's awkward. You could clearly tell that even though they're not married anymore, they got that connection for being married so many years and being good friends for such a long time. So they're at game night, and Catherine and Eddie are killing it. They're like I think they did the highest score they've done with like 18, 17 or 18. So then it's Anna's turn. Now Anna is drinking because she's nervous, and she gets up there, and Anna is horrible. Anna is horrible at game night. Like, don't play charades with her. But and she bombs. And but she sits back down and she has another drink, and you can see Catherine's eyes looking at it, judging it. Catherine, don't do that. Don't do that. So then Regina, okay, so then Regina's mom shows up, right? And she's a mess, right? And so Regina's like, "What's going on?" She said, "I talked to your dad, and he told me it's my fault. He blames me and everything. It didn't go well." And you could kind of tell, they didn't say this, I'm just thinking it, she still loves her dad. Sheila still loves Regina's dad. And that's also, I think, why it hurt her too, because she never even wanted to marriage to end. It kind of just ended because she couldn't be intimate because of all the stuff that it brought back from her brother. And so, her mom is just a mess, and she leaves and she's crying, and she tells her, "Come in for game night." And she was like, "No, no, no, I don't want to bring everybody down." And so she leaves. And so when Rome comes out, he was like, everything, and he could tell Regina was something's wrong. And he's like, what's going on? And she said, "My mom, she's not doing well." Like, he blames her and she feels guilty. And Rome is just like, there's no other way you could tell her you don't blame her. And so she says, "Rome, I have to go." And he's like, he understands, and he tells her, okay. So then Milo comes over to speak to Danny, and they had like a real cute grown up, night planned as far as food and everything. That's it. But you could tell that Danny is kind of down about everything going on with Gary. So he tells Milo, I have to go see someone. And Milo takes him. And we find out, because there's a knock at the door, that it's Sophia. Gary opens up the door, and she's standing there, and she just goes into his arms, and she gives him a hug and everything. Y'all must have saw them comments, because them fans could not stand this little girl. I'm not gonna lie, I was one of them. But I mean, she acting her part good, because my gosh, she had got on my last nerve. But she just tells Gary, I'll never understand, and I'll never agree with what you did, but I love you, and life is too short, and I want you to be okay. And he's like, I'm gonna be fine and everything. And he was like, I don't want you making up, because of this. And she said, no, it's not because of this. Life is just too short, and I love you and everything. Excuse me, y'all. And Danny, she told him that Danny was the one who told her, because her band had a show in town, I guess, or nearby. And so Danny came and he told her what was going on with Gary. Okay, now Gary says, "Come here, let me show you something." So Sophia follows him, and he said, "Watch this." Baby, Anna got up to do charades. There was no help for that. And so, because, and even Sophia was like, "Oh, she's bad." And so Sophia shows up, and Anna says, "Oh, you thought Greta was going to be the awkwardness or something." She drunk. It wasn't nothing. And then she spills wine on Eddie, and then everybody's going off into their corners, and it gives Gary. Sophia goes and finds Gary. Excuse me, finds Maggie, and she apologizes to Maggie, and Maggie says, "No, don't apologize. I was gonna tell you about Gary, but it just happened so fast." And she said, "If you need to talk, I'm here for you." And Sophia just lets her know. I mean, Maggie just lets her know she's having a hard time, because she's afraid that if the cancer is back. So they bond and everything, and it's all good between those two. And then Gary talks to Rome, and Rome said, "I know you want this to be normal," because Gary had to tell them, "Stop treating me like this. Like, It's fine, because they were like adding, you know how Rome is. He was adding minutes to the game. He was like, "Oh, you said this word, but it's okay. We'll let you go." And then, but Gary just told him, "I'm the whole time I just said, no, I don't have cancer. It's not bad." And he said, when I went and got surgery, when I went and got X-ray, when all this was going on, and he says, but now Sophia shows up. And that's something good, and she's wanting to reach out. So now he's just like, maybe I have cancer. And Rome said, Gary said it helps him cope or whatever. And Rome just gives him a hug and tells him, I'm here for you or whatever. And Gary makes a joke being Gary. And Rome is like, you just couldn't, could you? So then Catherine and Eddie are in the room, right? And Catherine talks to Eddie about Anna's drinking. And she says she drinks a lot. And he says she's just nervous. And she says, yeah, but you're a recovering alcoholic, and I don't want anything to disrupt you. And he says, Catherine, with all due respect, I take my drug test and I pass them and I do everything that I'm supposed to do. And this is none of your business. And he leaves. And listen, Catherine, Eddie is absolutely right. This does not have anything to do with you. Mind your business. Mind your business. So then we see Gary at the game night is wrapped up. And we see Regina goes and speaks to her dad, and she tells him, because he blames her mom, and he was like, how could she not know? And she said, Dad, she blocked it out. She was 7 years old when her brother did that to her. She said she blocked it out, and I know she did because I blocked it out. She said, we just blocked it out. Is the way we dealt with it, is the way we coped. And so it made him understand, and he said, she told him it's not her fault. So then we see Gary going, and he has gotten his result. He's getting his results and everything. And the doctor comes in and he tells him that, he's cancer free, and they're so happy, that he's cancer free and everything. And then we see Regina's mom. Regina's mom is talking to at her house, and Regina's dad shows up, and she's like, "Oh, I didn't know he was coming. I'll leave you too," because it's awkward. She knows he's like really mad at her, and he blames her for something that she blames herself for, and he tells her, "No, I need to talk to you." And he just pretty much tells her, I'm sorry if I made you feel like that. Regina explained everything to him. And then it goes silence too. But pretty much the gist of it was he forgives her because he knows that had she remembered, she would have never left Regina around her brother. And she starts getting emotional. I was like, because no parent wants to wants to leave their child around someone that they know is a pedophile or and everything, and she just already felt guilty about that, and so having him add on to that just made it worse. And I think just having him understand and say, I know you didn't know, like your mind blocked it out, so you didn't know. If you had, you would have never done that. It just went a long ways with her and everything. But her mom was still trying to come to a game night. Like, girl, no, it's not for y'all. It's for the friends. So then we see Eddie talks to Anna, and Anna says, because she woke up hungover, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry." And he was like, "No, no, no, no." And she was like, "I was just so nervous, and then you and Catherine have this connection, and she was just." I don't think this woman has a drinking problem. She was just nervous. And so she drank more than she would normally drink. And that was all that was to it. But he tells her that when he was in his AA meeting, he called her my Anna. And he said, because I never ran it by you to call you my girlfriend. And she said, I would like that or whatever. And so she calls him my boyfriend. He said, I can give you permission. It was a real cute moment. But he's finally made it official to make her more secure in her position, because he and Catherine have this close relationship, but he made her secure in her position. Now, speaking of Catherine, she over there complaining to Greta, and Greta said, okay, you might be right about her, drinking a little bit too much that night. And she said, wait, are you implying I'm not right about something else? And Greta said, God, you are and Eddie have this connection, but Eddie she said, it's control for you. She said, he let you in when he picked a place. You were involved in all these decisions, but when it comes to Anna, you were not involved in that, and that's a control issue for you. She said, you didn't have to bring him a non-alcoholic beverage. Y'all not still married. Y'all are not married still. And Catherine started seeing it from what Greta was saying and everything, and she was like, okay. That was pretty much it with them, y'all. I like Greta though. I really do. I like Greta. I think she's fun and she can get Catherine out of her own way. So then we see Gary and Maggie are lying in the bed, and he just says, it's the next morning. He says, after he's gotten his results and he's cancer free, they're lying in the bed. I guess it's the afternoon, and he says, life is too short. Let's move in together. And she said, I think we should have a child. And so that's how a million little things went off. So I guess they're gonna start working on having a child. You know what? I like this episode because they were as a group again. Because so many times in these episodes now, they're all off doing their own thing, which I know they do, but they used to connect more. Like they would come together at some point, all together at some point during the episode. So it's nice whenever they do that. So that was a million little things. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next Wednesday for a new episode.